For more on this, we're joined by David Susi, a CNN safety analyst and a former FAA safety inspector. He's speaking with us from Denver. David, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your perspective in all this. Let's first talk about the videos, right? That Ring camera that captured that plane falling down, the dash cam footage we saw from a car as well. It's striking the speed that this plane just goes down right into the ground. The data shows the final speed of descent was 11,000 feet per minute. What can cause a jet to fall out of the sky like that?
Well, there's only a few things that can cause that. It's too early to know exactly what happened yet, but as Mary pointed out before, it's not about engine starvation. It's not about some ordinary thing that happens that's recoverable. This was not recoverable. That airplane is completely out of control. One of the things that I speculate about is the fact that in a stall condition, now on that Lear 55, I was involved in the stall characteristics check of that aircraft back in the 70s. And what we did back then was we stalled the aircraft intentionally at an altitude of 50,000 feet. We went to the max altitude and tried to stall the aircraft, and we did. And it usually buffets. But when you set the weight and balance, when the balance of the aircraft is off at that point, and you do a stall, it can be non-recoverable. The aircraft nose will drop dramatically if the weight and balance is off. And then once it does, it is down. It's going straight down. In the experiments that we did with moving the ballast to the rear of the aircraft, the stall was almost unrecoverable. It took us almost 20,000 feet to recover from the stall. So in that case, this Lear 55 and most Lear jets are built for speed. They're made to be fast transport aircraft. And so when things go wrong, they go dramatically wrong very quickly. And that's the only thing I can think of that would cause this type of dramatic drop in that short amount of time.
Yeah, so if I'm understanding you right, you're saying that this Lear Jet 55, it's vulnerable to stalling out. It's finicky. It has some nuances involved with how you fly it to avoid stalling out. Can you talk more about those nuances? And does any of the equipment that would be on a medevac flight, gurneys, for example, when thinking about weight, would any of that play a role?
Well, it can. And what I'm referring to with the vulnerabilities are things that are trained. When you're trained to fly that aircraft, Flight Safety International teaches pilots how to do this and how to manage their fuel inside of the Lear jets. The Lear jets have swept wings. So as the fuel's burned off, it does change the weight and balance somewhat. In this case, I'm sure that aircraft was full of fuel. It was heading down to a 1,100 or 1,200 mile flight, and that aircraft can go 2,300 miles, so it's at least half full of fuel. But it has a tank in the rear of the aircraft. It also has tanks in the wings. So the way that you manage that fuel, it can change the weight and balance if you put too much fuel in the back tank. So that can change that, but pilots are trained to do that. So I can't say that that's what caused this. I'm just saying that that's one of the things that pilots are aware of and how they manage their fuel in the aircraft. Now, your second question about the medevac kit that was inside. I worked for a medical transport company for many years, helped design the medical transports. And then later was an accident investigation up in Casper, Wyoming, of a medical Mitsubishi MU-2 that crashed. And when it did, it had a medical kit inside of it. Now, what can happen there is the medical box that's in there contains oxygen, and sometimes very large oxygen bottles go along with that. So when we look at the explosion at the end, it's atypical. It's an extremely violent explosion.
You're saying the oxygen could have played a role in that explosion?
Most definitely it could have, yes. That's what I'm saying. And as it did with the accident investigation I did in Casper, the same thing happened there.
Okay. And this medevac plane, it's scheduled for 2 to 3 flights per day. So this is a workhorse of a plane. Does something like a maintenance schedule come to mind for you, or is that not a factor based on the videos that you've seen?
No, these aircraft are made to be used that way, and the fact that the pilot does a pre-flight on every flight, no matter if it's 3 or 5 flights that day, the pilot does a walk around, and the maintenance schedule is very tight. And Jet Rescue is a very good operator and has a very good safety record. So I don't suspect any maintenance issues.
Hey, this was very important context. David Susi, we really appreciate your perspective in all this as we cover this tragic news. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabel.